Hey everyone, happy Bulletproof Monday. My name is Susan Sly, and I am here to assist you on your journey in business and help you become more successful so you can lead a ridiculously fulfilling life. Bulletproof Monday is for people who are solopreneurs, small business owners. You're doing the startup thing and you're looking for mindset and motivation to help you sort of transcend all of those possible pitfalls that can happen. So today's topic is really around fear and the 3 fears that will destroy any business and how to torch them. It's so great to see all of you. Hey, Pat, Marcia, Bruce. I had a couple of technical difficulties today. If you're here live, I want to acknowledge you and especially thank you for those of you who carve out this time every week to be here. If you are listening on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you are, shouts out to you too. If you ever want to join me live, you can check me out on my Facebook business page at Susan Sly Live. So this topic today was inspired by a young man named Jonathan, and I met Jonathan a week ago in Toronto, and he and his mom Christine came to an event that I did, and he said, you know, I watch every Bulletproof Monday, and he was quoting Bulletproof Mondays, and his mom said, Jonathan sometimes has had some different life challenges happening, but he'll come back to Bulletproof Monday and he'll be like, Mom, on Bulletproof Monday they said this is what I should do. So I said to Jonathan, if I could do a topic for you, what would it be? And off he went, and he came back an hour later and he said, would you talk about fear? And I said, absolutely. And I said, why is that important? And he said, because we all have fears. And if we allow those fears to get the best of us, they paralyze us. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we're going to talk about fears. And the question I have for all of you is, how many of you know you have some very specific fears and they're holding you back in business? How many of you know that? And if you do, it's natural. Hey, Ralph. Hey, Anna. And the challenge is when our fears become bigger than the desires of our heart and what's on the other side of achieving beyond those fears, that's when we end up procrastinating. We don't do the things we know we must in business, those sales calls, the follow-ups, the presentations, going out there, putting ourselves out there. And there are really 3 key fears that are going to destroy any business. And I speak to these not just because I'm a certified coach or a trainer. It's because I've lived them as an entrepreneur. So I'm going to talk about those in a moment, but I prepared a quote today. And this quote is by Rudyard Kipling, who was the author of The Jungle Book. And he once wrote a fear. He said, of all the liars in the world, sometimes the worst are our own fears. I'll say it again. Of all the liars in the world, sometimes the worst are our own fears. And so when we're in fear, it's because we're telling ourselves a story of a potential outcome that most likely isn't going to come true. Someone once said to me, Susan, only 10% of what you fear will ever come true. And how many of you know that you've had something that maybe you feared and then it never happened, and you were thinking your mind was starting to spin and going through all potential horrible things that could happen. None of them happened. And so fear, there's an acronym that supports fear. It says false evidence appearing real. So we tell ourselves a story that that person doesn't want to do business with us, or they don't need our product and service, or that what we have to say isn't that important. And the list goes on and on. But our fears will keep us stuck. They will keep us broke. They will prevent us from our greatness. And most importantly, there's always collateral damage with fear. And what I mean by that is that when we're stuck, when we're playing small, whether it's our children, our grandchildren, our partner, our business colleagues, our team members, people suffer when we play small. And the only reason we play small is because of our fears. So let's get into what are these top 3 fears and just explore these for a moment. There are only 3. And I want to preface this by saying that we're only born with 2 fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. And so when we have either of those fears, guess what happens? We're infants, but all of the other ones we construct, we make them up. And it happens because of our experiences and our perception around the experiences, our beliefs, and our thoughts. So in this first part, I'm going to talk about the 3 fears in business. And the second part is dedicated to Jonathan, where I'm going to share the 5 steps to torch any fear. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. A couple of quick announcements. One, if you're on my list, tomorrow, Tuesday, November the 19th, is live coaching. And this is where you get a self-made millionaire, a CEO. You get me as your coach in a group environment. And some of my people on my list, they write in their questions. Some people are on live, but only if you're on the list do you get that invitation. It's very special, very exclusive, and it's free. So go to susansly.com, make sure you're on the list. And that's the first thing. The second thing is, I'm doing a one-day event in Phoenix called I Love Marketing. It is going to be on Saturday, February 22nd. And really, we're going to go into just marketing basics, social media marketing, branding. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Tickets are not on sale for that event yet, but that is, again, mark your calendar, Saturday, February 22nd. And so with that, let's get the party started. Fear number 1, what is it? It's the fear of dealing with reality. This one is powerful, and it shows up for people in a variety of ways. And it showed up for me many years ago, 20 years ago, and it cost me my marriage. It cost me my business. It cost me my relationships. It cost me, almost everything, and I ended up homeless. So the fear of dealing with reality, what that looks like in business is you don't want to deal with the cash flow statement. You don't want to deal with the profit and loss. You don't want to deal with the attorneys. You don't want to deal with your taxes. You don't want to deal with the employee or the team member who's sabotaging all the other employees and team members, and you just don't want to deal with it. So what you do is you put your head in the sand. And this is a really tough one. And it's a big fear, and it's a very common fear. When you think about the number of businesses that go, bankrupt, it's not because that business owner wasn't super passionate about whatever it is they were doing. It's because that below the surface, and this is where most fears live, below the surface was this very real fear of dealing with reality. And people who have this fear will say, well, I'm not good with numbers. I just don't understand. That's not true. That's a lie you're telling yourself because you've created this fear. I don't understand technology. No, that's not true. You just choose to fear it because you want to fear. Your fear is the fear of reality. In the reality of today, over 70% of all jobs require some form of technology. Social media marketing is here to stay for the time being. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, it's all happening. And you can either be in fear or you can embrace it. But having that fear of reality will keep you stuck. So back in the late 90s, I owned a health club. I was on radio. I was on television. I had my online business. It was crack-a-lackin', to be honest. I mean, I was one of the first online coaches in the world, and I was in magazines, and I was writing, and I was doing all this amazing stuff. I was a pro athlete. But here's what I didn't pay attention to. I didn't look at cash flow statements because guess what? I just had a fear of that reality. So as long as I was driving my Mercedes and carrying my Louis Vuitton and on television, I thought the world was just peachy, and it wasn't, because I had a fear of what the reality was. And the reality was we didn't have any money. That was one. We had less than no money. And another thing that I didn't deal with, legal implications. I didn't deal with staff. I had one employee that I know 100% was stealing from me, and another one I suspected, and I didn't deal with it. I didn't deal with that reality because I was a people pleaser, and I was so focused on belonging. I would rather, back in those days, have people steal from me than fire them. Like, is that crazy or what? And so, because I always wanted to be the nice person. And so this fear of dealing with reality eventually led me to the point on Good Friday of the year 2000 when I walked to my health club to go teach a spinning class, and there was a padlock on the door for failure to pay taxes. And because of my fear of reality, I let my business partner handle all the financials. I didn't want to look at them, and I didn't pay attention. And some of you may be startled to hear this from me. I'm just laying it all out and just sharing that truth. And because of my fear of dealing with reality, we ended up keeping the wrong staff. And when the business closed, a lot of good people lost their jobs. And so one of the reasons I'm so passionate about doing this show and just giving, and my blog on SusanSly.com, and events and things I do, it's because that I want to help people get over their fear of reality. And so whether we're talking about accounting, or we're talking about social media marketing, or we're talking about any of the real aspects of doing business these days, building the right team, that once you see that not dealing with reality is a lot scarier than dealing with reality, you're going to be better off. And if that's your fear, the fear of dealing with reality, you have to build the right team around you. You need the right attorney, the right accountant. You need someone in your life who's going to call you out on your nonsense and just get direct and honest with you. The second fear is the fear of rejection. When we have this fear, we don't make the sales call because we think someone doesn't want what we had to sell. When we have the fear of rejection, we might have talked to someone, had a great conversation, and then we don't follow up with them because we're like, oh, they won't want to, do what we're offering anyway. We might start a company, but we won't go out and pitch investors. We won't pitch for our Series A. We won't do those things because we have this fear of rejection. Because guess what? If you don't try, you won't get rejected, right? So that's what people with this fear tell themselves. Your business is going to fail. And people with the fear of rejection, it shows up in a multitude of ways. They become very exhausted. They're in their head all the time. And if you have the fear of rejection, the best thing you can do is get into massive action, because massive action neutralizes negative emotions. So go book more sales calls, book more follow-ups, do more presentations. Get in your head, you're dead. Right? And at the end of the day, I think of the countless thousands and thousands of people that I've done speaking events for, and that's just normally in a year. This fear is very real. And so people hide. And they'll hide behind, oh, if I just post on social media, then I'm building my business. No, the way you build a business is having real human-to-human contact, right? And it's great to build funnels. I own a marketing agency, Agency 8. You can check it out. And we teach people how to do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there's a human on the other side of that. And people who are fearing rejection, they'll spend a lot of money on things that they never use, because ultimately, at the end of the day, that fear of rejection prevents them from putting themselves out there. And the only way to build a business is to put yourself out there. The third fear is the fear of success. And this fear shows up, what it looks like is the person who goes from opportunity to opportunity to opportunity. They'll get a little bit of traction and then they'll go do something else. They're terrified of success. Why? Because they associate success with a degree of responsibility. And maybe they grew up in a household where they were told, oh, all people with money are evil, or, people with money, they ultimately are going to lose it, or whatever the case is. And so people with this fear, and I've seen it so many times in so many businesses, they lack focus. They bounce around all the time. They don't listen to people. They create a lot of chaos. And just when things start going really, really well, that's when they create the most chaos. And if that's you, and this is your fear, there are a couple of things I'm going to recommend. One is you need to have the right team of people around you. So for example, if you're doing a startup, you shouldn't be the CEO if this is you, because you are going to screw it up. You're going to lose the company, and all the investors, you're not going to be able to pay them. It's just the way it's going to be. You have to have the right CEO in place. If you're in a direct sales business and this is you, and this is like your 10th, 12th different company, you've created a lot of chaos, you need to plant your roots. You need to get a mentor, a coach of some sort, and someone who's going to help to guide you. Success isn't scary, but this story you tell yourself around the responsibility of success is very scary. And the thing I would say is, you are not responsible for the success of others. You are only responsible to teach them what you know. And Will Smith said this: money doesn't change who you are. It only amplifies what's already there. As Ralph makes money, Ralph's a really good human. He's going to do more good things, right? As Bruce makes more money, he's going to do more really good things. And so the people I know who've built wealth and kept their wealth also tend to be people who just do a lot of really, really good things. And so the thing I want you to know is all of these fears can be dealt with. All of these fears can be released. And when I do my events, just 2 events I do every year, I Love Marketing. This is the first one, but O4D, that's the second one. That's in April. It's 4 days. It goes Thursday to Sunday. I actually do live coaching with people and we help them get through these fears in business. But I'm going to give you these steps. And this is for Jonathan. So I also have done podcast shows on how to torture fears using neuro-linguistic programming. I am a certified NLP coach and therapist, but I'm just going to walk you through these 5 things super quickly. Grab a pen, take a note, re-listen to this. So the first one is identify what the fear is. So Jonathan, in his video, he said he's afraid of the dark. So his fear is he's afraid of the dark. What is your fear? Is it the fear of rejection? Is it the fear of success? Is it the fear of dealing with reality? What is that fear? Identify it. And then the second step is to ask yourself, how does this make you feel? So in Jonathan's case, how does it make him feel? Well, it makes him, feel scared. It makes him feel, helpless, this fear of the dark that he has, right? And so when you think about that, how does your fear make you feel? If you know that you're supposed to be prospecting for new clients and you're not doing it and you have a fear of rejection, how does it make you feel? Maybe it makes you feel paralyzed, overwhelmed, anxious, exhausted. What are the words? The third thing is, who is suffering because you have this fear? And you want to feel this in your body. Who's suffering because you're not making the amount of money you should? Who's suffering because you can't send your children to the schools they need to, or your children have massive student loan debts because you were all about, yes, I'm going to have these kids, and they had, play school, everything, toys, and you name it, they had it, but now you can't afford to pay for them to go to college because you fettered it all away on what you thought was important and the things that weren't really important. I don't know. I'm just making this stuff up. So who is suffering? The next question is, what if you didn't have this fear? So what if you didn't have the fear? Jonathan, what if you didn't have the fear of the dark? What would your life be like then? Think about it. What if you didn't have your fear? Well, I'd make, if it's a business fear, I'd make more money. I would sleep better. I'd go on more vacations. I would hire more people. I'd grow my business. I'd do all these things, right? I'd give money away if I didn't have the fear. Interesting. So your life sounds a lot better without the fear. So my last question is this fear really true? Is it really true? Are you truly afraid of rejection? If there's so much goodness on the other side? Are you afraid of success if there's so much goodness on the other side? Are you afraid of dealing with reality if there's so much goodness on the other side? When you clean up your taxes, you get your accounting in order, you get rid of the people who are toxic in your staff, and you have all these new people, right? And so those are the questions to ask yourself. And again, I would refer you on iTunes to the Susan Sly Project, because I did a whole show on this. It's a lot longer than these questions I just did. On susansly.com, you can check it out on the blog. I have videos of this. And if you come to one of my events, I coach people in the audience through this live. And if you're on my list and you are, go to susansly.com if you're not on the list. Tomorrow night, Tuesday, November 19th, I'm going to be coaching live. And if this is something that comes up, I will definitely do live coaching with someone and take them through this process. Because again, the thing I'm going to close with is this. I do this show every week because I believe that small business owners and entrepreneurs are what are going to solve all of the problems in this planet. It's going to be an entrepreneur who figures out a way to clean up the oceans and clean up air pollution and to stop the melting of the polar ice caps. It's going to be an entrepreneur that figures out how to feed people who are starving to death. And it's going to be an entrepreneur who, just like an entrepreneur figured out how little babies who were dying of hypothermia in Africa, how they could figure out a way to to help save more lives. And entrepreneurs and people who have that entrepreneurial spirit, they always start with, how can I solve these problems? And the world needs more entrepreneurs. The world needs for you to play big and not play small. The people in your life need for you to play big and not play small. And so with that, the thing I want to leave you with is don't let your fears be bigger than your dreams. So with that, God bless. You are all amazing. I will read all of your comments. Just put them below. If this video has helped you today, just go ahead and share it. If you have a topic for Bulletproof Monday, you can go to susansly.com. We have a chat bot. Some of the topics that come in are a little weird, but if it's a good one, we'll definitely do it. And again, if this has been helpful, share this page with everyone you know. If you know someone who's starting a business, entrepreneur, they own a business, please have them come here, because this is where I get to give and serve all of you every single Monday. So with that, this has been another episode of BPM. I will see you guys next Monday. Goodbye, everyone.